2023 was the 15th anniversary of the Gurren Lagann movies. Childhood's End and The Lights in the Sky Are Stars. For the first time, these movies made their way into theaters outside of Japan, and were even dubbed by the original cast of the show in English. I had the pleasure of being able to view both films in a theater near me, and it's an experience I won't soon forget. Being able to see this show that I love so much on the big screen with the audio setup it deserves was incredible. But even if I enjoyed my time, I must still pose a question that is admittedly rather difficult. What is the purpose of the movies? Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm still very happy the movies exist, but they are strange when you think about it. Both movies recap the events of the show, condensing them for a more accessible watch. They aren't a complete one-to-one, as some of the story is changed or modified to work in a movie format, or simply to make the watch more exciting. So that still leaves the question. Well, I want to deconstruct these movies a bit, talk about what works, what doesn't work, and where I feel they ultimately fit in the franchise. So, let's get ready to go to the movies. Because they're easier to watch than the show, being shorter, you'd think that would make them a more potential gateway to bring in new fans. Well, I, and many other fans like me, fully admit that these movies are much more for existing fans than for new ones. Even before the movies begin, they have interviews with the lead staff and the Japanese voice of Kamina, saying that they should watch the show too, if they haven't already. But let's go ahead and pull up the numbers. The first movie is a little under 2 hours, covering the first arc of the show, the child arc, or Beastman War as some prefer. This arc consists of episodes 1 through 15, averaging at roughly 20 or so minutes an episode. That means the entire arc is around 5 hours long, which is over twice the length of the movie. Some time is saved due to story changes, as the movie crams in all the fights against the 3 generals into one climax. But there's still a lot more that needs to be cut for it to fit, at least with that runtime. Several episodes were turned into a montage partway through after the gang all gets together. So several character introductions, like Kitan and the Black siblings, as well as Rasio, Gimme, and Dari, are delegated to this montage, which covers roughly episodes 4 through 6. A lot of context and world building is lost because of this, and most of the characters suffer for it. In particular, Rasio. Though he has a bigger role in the second half of the show, he only has a few lines in the first movie. One of the reasons his character change was so powerful in the second arc was because we got to know him. We saw the environment he grew up in and saw how different he was from the others. If you were to just watch the movies, that entire character arc would feel very rushed. He barely has any presence in the first movie, and a lot of his scenes are cut out completely. Kitan escapes from this fine enough, as he has such a boisterous personality that he's immediately understood as soon as he says anything. Plus, he does still interrogate Nia and come in to save the day against the fight against Timelf in the movie. But Gimme, Dari, and the rest of the Black siblings, Kyo, Kia, and Kyo, are barely there. If there was just an additional 10 or 20 minutes, I feel like this problem might have been solved, or at least remedied. But with how the movie is presented, several characters feel massively unimportant. Because of this, the first movie feels like a lesser retelling of the arc. It's an abbreviated version of events, and unfortunately, a lot is lost because of this. All those little silly fights and character moments are now just quick flashes of a montage. So there's not as much buildup of this team, these characters, and their dynamics. However, it does pick up towards the climax, with an incredible version of Simo's speech that is just as impactful, if not more so, than the show's version. As my favorite moment in anime, I loved how the movie handled this scene. It's incredibly cinematic and gorgeous. The climax is also a lot of fun, with an awesome battle against the 3 remaining generals that feels like a whole new encounter. Rather than a recap, it was something new and exciting. But the change does, in my opinion, negatively affect a bit of the message. Gurren Lagann is about how we are stronger together, but not defined by this. We are our own person, and once we discover who we are, we can better help others and the rest of the world. One of the reasons Team Daiguren's win against the generals was so well executed was because they were continuously underestimated and because there was a big difference in ideals. Team Daiguren fought for freedom and worked together as a complete unit. But they might not have always gotten along, but they had a common goal and they knew to work together. Lord Geno's generals fought for glory, and they also fought alone, as they hated each other. Though our heroes struggled, they prevailed because they worked together. Well, the movie changes that, as the 3 remaining generals attack them all at once in one big battle. So that muddies the message a bit, if both parties are fighting as a combined unit. In a way, this fight kind of replaces the one in episode 4, where Gurren Lagann fights the gunman with several faces. The idea of that episode is that Gurren Lagann's combining is a union of like-minded souls working as one, where the enemy gunman is a union of necessity, making their teamwork a lot less impactful. So the climax is similar to that, but it's not exactly a replacement. It's obviously presented as a much bigger threat, making their battle more like a contest of will and power rather than one of ideals. It is still epic, but some of that nuance is lost because of all this. So generally, the show's telling of this arc is superior, even if the movie is still a fun watch. But the second movie, The Lights in the Sky Are Stars, is a bit different. After the success of Childhood's End, and the reception of the new parts was great, the team made even more changes and added more animation for the second film. And because of this, and with the format of the anti-spiral arc story, I think the second movie is generally a little better than the show. The first film suffered for a little bit because the beginning of that arc is kind of a monster of the week narrative. It was episodic, letting us exist with these silly characters in this silly world, before leading us into the main plot. The second arc is very focused, with a clear villain and character arcs all the way through. The stuff it condenses also make a lot more sense and don't damage all that much. Though I do love all of Yoko's Miss Yomoko parts, and all the small moments of the team conversing together, it does make it a bit more streamlined to focus on the main story, and the characters make it out okay because they still get plenty to do to leave an impact. The only place it suffers in, again, is with Rossiu. He has more focus than the other film, yes, but it is still more rushed than the original show, and the climax of his character arc, which originally ended with Simon's epic grit-your-teeth punch and a really great speech, is instead a little laughable in the movie, with just how quick and unimpressive it is. It is a massive downgrade and really damages Rossiu's character throughout both films. However, the climax is epic, the animation is amazing, and I love how the other members of Team Daiguren, who originally died in the show, survive and get their own souped-up mechas, making it feel even more like a big team brawl of Team Daiguren versus the Anti-Spirals. It feels like it never stops. It even manages to outdo the show, which already had one of the best and most epic final clashes in anime history. Just seeing how ridiculous the scale gets, and how much the increased budget assists with the amazing final duel, is alone worth the price of admission. It's like how I felt about the fight against the generals, but without damaging the theme of the show, and upping literally everything. Not to mention, I feel like the movie treats Nia's character a whole lot better. I had issue with how she felt sidelined in the show, but the movie really gives her character a lot more respect, giving her a mecha and even adding in scenes toward the beginning and end that, though they are brief, they really help round out her character arc. And because the film is more streamlined, many of the portions where she was absent were cut, making her feel much more present throughout the whole story. So yeah, the first movie is a little worse than the show, and the second movie is a little better. So where does that leave my question? What is the purpose of the movies? They are retellings, rather than new stories. We do get some new animation, but only in portions of the movies, so there isn't still a ton of new content. Well, to me, they are complements to the original show. They in no way replace it, as watching the series is, in my opinion, still overall the best option. It's good to watch the movies after having already seen the show, as because it condenses a lot, much of the nuance and character is lost. But that epic feeling, the grand scale, and the greatness of its main cast still ring true. It is a compact version of the show in every way, a way to experience the most streamlined and exaggerated version possible. Every mistake and epic moment is amplified and noticed a whole lot more, making it a very flawed but still bombastic and memorable experience. Even the mistakes don't really damage the films that much, because the characters, action, and epic animation is so enthralling that viewers aren't really given enough time to think about them. They need to constantly pay attention just to keep up with it all. I think fans should see them at least once, especially on a big screen if possible. It truly is an incredible experience, and in my opinion, shows that even a shortened version of this story is still incredible and memorable. What else can I say but go to the movies and get ready to row, row, fight the power.